Okay, let's dive into this. We're unpacking a text today that is literally so short you could read it in a single sitting, yet it survived for over 2,000 years. We're talking about the Tao Te Ching. It was written by Lao Tzu, a philosopher who, well, legend has it, he just walked away from civilization one day, but right before he vanished into the mountains, he left behind this echo. And the quiet power of this one man's voice, it feels almost impossible to fully grasp in our incredibly loud world today.
Because think about it for a second. Every single quiet moment we have gets filled immediately, right? A notification pings on your phone.
A podcast suddenly starts blasting in your ear before you even have a split second to think.
Or, let's be totally honest here, a completely mindless scroll through someone else's life on social media. We live in this society that absolutely worships action. You know the drill. Do more, achieve more, push harder, move faster. We are literally terrified of silence, because doing nothing, well, it feels exactly like falling behind.
Now, what's really interesting here is how Lao Tzu's entire philosophy cuts right through all that frantic modern noise with just one single word: stillness. Just listen to the man's voice echoing across 2 millennia. To the mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders. Notice he didn't say the busy mind or the mind that's constantly planning its next move. The mind that is still. We're so afraid of silence today, but Lao Tzu believed silence isn't empty at all. It's actually incredibly full. Full of answers and clarity that we just cannot hear when the noise never stops.
Modern society is constantly barking these aggressive, exhausting commands at us, right? Do more, push harder, move faster. Rest is practically treated like some sort of moral failure, like pure laziness. But Lao Tzu's profound counteroffer to all that is stillness. See, he didn't believe the most powerful force in nature is the one that pushes the hardest. He believed it's the one that flows.
Listen to the steady, calm voice of this philosopher again. He writes, "Water is soft and gentle, but it carves through rock. How? Not by force, not by aggression, but by persistence, by patience, by simply being exactly what it is." He's asking us this quiet, but honestly incredibly powerful question. What if you lived a little bit more like water?
And this brilliantly illustrates a central concept in Taoism, really capturing the essence of the Tao, or the way. Now, keep in mind, it's not a religion or some strict set of rules. It's just a gentle way of moving through life. And right at the center of this is Wu Wei, effortless action. Lao Tzu observed that most of our human suffering comes from one incredibly simple mistake. We try to control absolutely everything. We fight against the natural flow. We push when we really should wait. Wu Wei is all about moving with life instead of against it. It's exactly like a river flowing naturally around rocks rather than trying to argue with them.
But hey, we really need to clear something up here, because it's important. Effortless action does not mean laziness or just giving up. That is a huge misconception. Wu Wei isn't about doing nothing at all. It's about not forcing things that simply aren't ready to happen yet. It's about acting honestly, gently, and without creating all this unnecessary resistance. And that naturally leads to a pretty radical idea about strength. Society tells us strength is force, it's aggression, it's total dominance, and never, ever backing down, right? But Lao Tzu's view, it's the exact opposite. He believed real strength is calm. It's adaptable. It's bending without breaking. To him, strength wasn't about how hard you can push, but rather how well you can flow. Just listen to his wisdom on this. The strongest trees bend in the storm. The rigid ones break. It's just such a beautiful, perfect metaphor from nature, isn't it? The rigid tree, stubbornly fighting the wind, tooth and nail, snaps. But the flexible tree, that one survives. So let me ask you directly. Think about the truly strong people in your own life. Are they the ones who never admit they're wrong, constantly forcing their way through everything? Or are they the ones who stay calm under pressure? When the storm hits your life, are you the one who tries to force your way through? Or are you the one who bends but doesn't break? So the crucial point is, to actually get to that state, we have to confront the ego. And this is honestly one of Lao Tzu's most misunderstood lessons. Listen to the man's voice. Care about what other people think, and you will always be their prisoner. Wow. Just let the heavy weight of that word prisoner sink in for a second. He genuinely believed that our constant need to be seen, praised, and validated is one of our absolute greatest sources of suffering. I mean, think about it. How much of your day is spent worrying about how others see you? How much of your precious energy goes into performing this curated version of yourself just to get other people's approval? If you're constantly seeking validation, you're essentially living a life designed by others. Lao Tzu believed that the very moment you've stopped needing to be seen, that is when you become truly free. Free to say what you actually think instead of just what people want to hear.
Let's move on and see how this builds into a really beautiful concept in Taoism called pu. It translates to the uncarved block. Picture a block of wood before it's been shaped or chiseled into anything at all. It contains absolutely infinite possibility. Lao Tzu believed that we are all born exactly like that uncarved block, open, deeply curious, and completely unafraid. But then, well, the tragedy of carving begins. At year 0, we arrive open and curious. But during childhood, the world starts carving us into what our parents want. Then in early adulthood, we're chiseled away into what society expects of us. Until today, in the present moment, we suddenly realize we're slowly losing touch with the original version of ourselves. The one that existed way before all the fear and the performing even began.
But the good news is, there is a way back. And Lao Tzu's teaching on this is so incredibly simple, warm, and inviting. He says, return to yourself. Not to who you think you should be, to who you actually are. It's this beautiful, profound invitation to just step away from the chisel. And returning to yourself completely changes how you handle challenges too. Our modern instinct is always to relentlessly attack and solve problems by fighting them head-on. But Lao Tzu taught something fascinating, dissolving problems. When you stop fighting them directly and shift how you actually look at them, they often just lose their power. Not because you ignored them, no, but because you simply stopped feeding them with all that resistance and fear.
Let the man's voice echo for us again here. If you realize that all things change, there is nothing you will try to hold on to. Everything passes, the good moments, the really painful ones, the embarrassment, the grief, the confusion, all of it moves. And the wise person, the one who understands this deeply down in their bones, they don't panic during the hard times. They simply wait. They trust the flow.
Which brings us to perhaps his most relevant lesson for us today. Seriously, take a deep breath. You do not have to figure everything out. You don't have to have all the answers. You do not have to force the next chapter of your life to happen. And you definitely don't have to know exactly where you're going right this very second.
As he wrote, nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. Let that voice remind you. The tree does not rush to grow. The seasons don't force themselves to change. The river never panics about where it's going. Yet everything arrives in its own time, in its own perfectly natural way.
So here is a path forward for us in this explainer. As you go through your day-to-day, just try to practice this effortless action. Trust the process. Stop forcing the outcomes. Let things naturally unfold. And try to just be still enough to notice what is actually already working in your life, right now.
Remember, the river doesn't fight the mountain. It finds a way around it. And eventually, it reaches the sea.
So I want to leave you with this final reflection today. Where in your own life are you forcing something that is actually asking you to flow instead? Where are you pushing against the current when you could simply let go?